G'day, I'm Matt Willis from Bayer Crop Science. I'm the Market Development Agronomist in Western Australia. Today we're out at Janakabine in the Avon Valley region looking at a Fenceline trial comparing a range of herbicides for the control of weeds along fences. One of the impacts of not controlling your weeds effectively along fence lines and seeing an increase in herbicide resistance is that those weeds will then set seed, and then those seeds and weeds will end up in the crop adjacent, which can then affect the profitability of your crop, particularly if there is herbicide resistance to products such as glyphosate. That can impact the controlling of those weeds in the crop. Across the agricultural region in broadacre and horticulture, there's been an increase in the amount of resistance to glyphosate and paraquat, and luckily in the last few years there has been an increase in options for products being used along fence lines, such as Uragan, which is Bromacil, or Terrain Flow, which is flumioxazin, and now with Bayer's Alion indaziflam. Alion is registered for 77 weeds on label, a range of broadleaf weeds and grass weeds. It's a pre-emergence herbicide, so it's applied and prevents the germination of those weeds, and it's giving up to season length control from trial work we've seen along fence lines. Alion is also registered in tree crops and in vineyards, which indicates that it will be safe along trees which are growing along fence lines. It's also got a quite easy to handle formulation. It's an SC formulation with a low use rate of 150 mils per hectare, which is very easy for the operator to mix up prior to applying. So Bayer Crop Science has conducted extensive trial work with Alion along fence lines, both in broadacre and in vineyards and orchards, and seen some very good results up against industry standards. We're seeing good safety on trees and vines. We're seeing good length of control across a range of both grass and broadleaf weeds. So here at Janakabine, this trial was sprayed in May of 2022. There was a large presence of annual ryegrass, volunteer wheat, wild radish, capeweed, and we identified that the ryegrass that was there was resistant to moderate levels of glyphosate. So the treatments we were looking at included an untreated, where no product was applied, it was just the natural weed population growing. Then we had one with Roundup Ultramax by itself, so just seeing the knockdown component with no residual to see what would come up afterwards. Then we looked at it with the Roundup in combination with Alion, in combination with Terrain Flow, and in combination with Uragan, to see how those residual products compared in terms of residual control. And we also looked at it with Alion mixed with paraquat instead of glyphosate to see that, given that we knew that paraquat worked, whether the effective knockdown paired with Alion made a difference. So what we've seen throughout the period of the trial being active is that following that application of straight Roundup killed the weeds that were there, apart from the glyphosate-resistant annual ryegrass. But then combining the glyphosate with the residual products has seen those weeds being controlled. Both the Terrain Flow, the Uragan and the Alion all controlled those weeds. The difference as they pulled apart was seen in terms of the length of residual. So the Terrain Flow gave really good control for the first 5 to 6 months, and then we started seeing weeds germinate in that treatment, whereas the Alion and the Uragan both gave season length control, and going into now, 18 months later, we're seeing weeds coming up through both the straight Roundup by itself and where the Roundup was combined with the Terrain Flow. But where it was combined with Uragan, with glyphosate or paraquat, we're still seeing bare earth, as in we're getting good control. An effective long-term strategy going forward for fenceline weed control is to use herbicides with alternate modes of action to what we're currently using on fence lines and in crop to be able to control these herbicide-resistant weeds, and also having products like Alion with their long residual, meaning that in subsequent years we're applying on either bare earth or on small weeds. There's a really good interest in the industry for Alion right now. Alternate modes of action, different chemistry to what we're currently using is always a subject which gets people passionate and excited about products, so certainly been a lot of interest. So for more information on Alion and to get some results from trials such as this, including Alion, visit the Bayer website or alternatively contact your local Bayer representative.